Okay, go ahead and download your Access Lab 5 instructions and work file. Open your Access Lab file, instructions file. It tells us to open the work file that you downloaded from Blackboard. Enable editing if you need to. Step 2, we're going to use the form wizard and create a form based on the student table. We're going to select all the fields in the form, and we're going to also select the columnar layout. We're going to specify the title of this form as student data. I'm going to minimize my Word direction file. I'm going to open my Lab 5 work file. If you have the Enable Content button at the top in the security warning, click on it. Now this is going to be a form based on the student table. So in the table section, in the navigation pane, click on Student. Up on your ribbon, click on the Create button, a tab. In the Forms group, click on the Form Wizard button. Make sure the table here says Student Table. We want all the fields from this table into our form. So click the double arrow pointing to the right to select all the fields. We're in a wizard, so then all we're going to do is keep answering each question on each window. Keep clicking next after we answer the question until we finally get to finish. So click next. The directions said to select columnar form, so we'll just click next. This is called student data, and then click finish. Okay, the next step is in Design View, apply the clarity theme to the student data form. So I'll bring up my Access file, and it said in Design View, so on my Home tab, the View button in the Views group, click the drop down arrow, go to Design View, and on the Form Design Tools Design tab, in the Themes group, click the drop down arrow for Themes. The themes should be in alphabetical order, so just point to each one and look at the screen tips till you find the clarity. And this is it. So if you click on it, it just changes the color of the background. Then edit the form title so it appears as student data, 2 words, and change the font color of the form title to blue-gray, accent 4, lighter 40%. I'll bring up my Access file. I will click up here, double click so that I get my formatting option. Hit the space bar to separate the 2 words. I'm going to select the text, and on the Home tab in the text formatting group, I'm going to click down the drop down arrow for the font color, and we want blue gray, accent 4, and just watch your screen tip, 40%. That's the correct one. Click on it. I'll bring my Word directions file back up. So we did step number 4, and then step number 5 in Form View. Use the Find command to display the record for Jeff Teeley, and then change the address of the field to 304 Forest Avenue. I'm going to bring up my Access file. We're going to have to change to Form View, so on the Home tab in the Views group, click the drop down arrow for View and click on Form. And how you navigate through the records, the bottom left corner of your screen, you can go record by record. You can go to the very last record, and you watch your screen tip. When I click on the first arrow, it goes to the first record. So I want to find Jeff Teeley. So on your Home tab, in your Find group, you have a Find button with a pair of binoculars. I'm going to look for his last name. So it's easier, instead of several different ways to do it. But if I click in the last name field, I know from using this button that it's going to ask me for the current field of the entire document. It will search faster, of course, if I'm just in the last name instead of it checking for that name through every single field. So I'm just going to make sure I'm positioned in the last name. And on the Home tab in the Find group, click the Find button with the binoculars. Find what? I'm going to type in his last name, Tealey, and notice where it's looking at. It's saying look in current field. So I'm just kind of narrowing it down so it's just looking in the last name as opposed to the entire document. I'm going to click the Find Next button, and it found him. I'm going to close my Find and Replace window, and I'm going to change his address to 304 Forest Avenue. Okay, I'll bring up my word instructions now. Use the student data form to add a new record to the student table with the data shown below. So I'll bring up my access file, and to start a brand new record, down here on your navigation pane where you go record by record, the very last arrow that has a little yellow asterisk to it, you click on it, it will bring you the next available empty record. And so the student ID was NEL 7584. Hit your tab key, go to the next field, and go ahead and fill the records in. Okay, I have finished that record. I can hit tab and it'll just go to the next blank one. I'll bring up my instruction file and the Word document. Okay, we fill that in. The next thing we're going to do is use the student data form to add another new record to the student table with the data shown below. So I will now bring up my access, and we're going to enter this particular information, ZAN123, and here enter your first and last name, and go ahead, based on the data here, enter the rest of the information in that record. Okay, I have completed that record. And the thing about forms is you want to keep your user in a form instead of datasheet view. When you're in datasheet view, when I look at these students, I see all that information. I could accidentally click in the wrong spot and change the wrong. It's so much information. It's so massive. Where in your forms, you're only dealing with one record at a time. So you're prone to less error as long as you have your data entry person, your end user, looking at one record at a time. So that's the good thing about form view. Okay, now we want to close and save the data sheet form. I'm going to save it and close it. I shouldn't have had that open in the first place. Okay. Now we're going to use the form wizard to create a form containing a main form and a subform. Select all the fields from the teacher table for the main form, and select the contract ID, student ID, and lesson type fields from the contract table for the subform. Use the datasheet layout. Specify the title Contracts by Teacher for the main form, and the title Contract Subform with no space for the subform. Okay, I'll bring up my Access work file, and on the Create tab, we're going to use the Form Wizard, and we want select all the fields from the teacher table. I'm going to drop down this arrow, go to the teacher table, and we're going to select all the fields by clicking the double arrow over, and then we're going to select from the contract, so drop down your arrow, find your contract table. We want the contract ID, so just double click on it. Student ID, double click. Lesson type, double click. Okay, we're in a wizard. There again, Form Wizard, just click Next. We don't have any instructions as far as how you want to view your data. Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. Form with subform. It is already selected. So all we need to do is click the Next button. And the directions said to use datasheet layout. It's already selected, so just click Next. Okay, the form, we were supposed to call it Contracts by Teacher. And the subform, we were to name it Contract Subform. Contract Subform with no spaces. Okay. Okay, so we have no more next buttons, which means we made the query happy, the wizard happy. So just click finish and you should see your form. Now we want to change the design view and change the form title next text for the main form to contracts by teacher, meaning put the spaces in, close and save the form. So we want to change the name so there is spacing. And it's just basically showing you how to edit your forms. So I'll bring up my Access, File. I'm going to click on my View button and go to Design View. I'm just going to double click and click in the title and separate the two. And I will go back to Form View just to view it. We're going to now save and close the student data. Save and close the contracts by teacher, my bad. Okay, step 11, we're going to build another form. This time we're going to use Form Wizard again. It's going to be based on the student table. We need the student ID, first name, last name, home field, and mobile phones. In the form, we want columnar layout, and we're going to call this phone change form. So if a student ever has their phone number changed, we're building this form so that all you see is a student ID and their name. We don't need their address. We just want to see their name and their ID, and those two phone fields. You know, the less fields, the less you see, the better off you are. So that this change is just a change for any kind of phone number without all the other information available, without looking at all that. So I'm bringing up my Access, File, on the ribbon on the Create tab. In the Forms group, click the Form Wizard. This is based on the student table, so make sure up here it says Student Table. And we want the fields of Student ID, so double click on Student ID. First name, you can click first name and click the arrow or double click, either way. Last name, home phone, and mobile. And then click Next because we're in a wizard. We want columnar, so click Next. We're going to call this Phone Change Form. And we will click Finish. There's no more Next. And so all they have here is student name and their phone numbers and their ID. Just a lot simpler form. Number 12, in Design View, apply the Office theme to the Phone Change form and change the font color to Red Accent 2 theme. Okay, I'm going to now change to Design View. On the Form Design Tools Design tab, in the Themes group, we want the Office. It's the very first one, it's blue. And we want to change the font color of the title to, and then I'm going to go in the Home tab. In the Text Formatting group, click the drop down arrow for the font color. And we just want standard red. No, Red Accent 2, my bad. It will be Red Accent 2. Okay, I'll bring up my word instructions. So we did number 12. Number 13, in Form View, use the Find command to display the record for Jeff Teeley and then change his home phone number to this. Save and close the data, student data form. Okay, I'll bring up my Access File. And in Form View, I'm going to click my drop down arrow, go to Form View. And I want to change his record. So on the Home tab in the Find group, I'm going to click on the binoculars. Oh, I didn't change. I'm going to cancel that out because I want to be in the last name field. It's just a faster, easier search. Click Find. It comes up. It still has my Teeley in it from last time. I want to do the current field because I was in the last name field. Click Next. Close your Find and Replace dialog box. And we want to change his home phone to where it's just going to be the last 4 digits or 4 5s. 5555. Okay. And we want to save and close the form change phone. Okay, now step 14, open the teacher info form in Design View and add the field Text Beginners to the bottom of the form to make it the last field on the form. Save and close the form. Okay, I'm going to bring up my Access file. And one way to open it in Design View is I could just open the teachers table and then change from the Home tab to the View group. Drop down that arrow and go to Design View, or I can right click on that teacher table name. A shortcut menu comes up, and click Design View from there. So just another way to do it. I could have easily, I'll close that out, or I could have easily just opened the teacher form and then gone to Home, View, Design. Either way. Okay, we're going to add the field Text Beginners to the bottom of the form to make it the last field. Okay, I was working with the let me go back to Design View. I was working with the wrong file. I'd already done this, so we're going to do here Text Beginners. The data type will be a yes/no field type. Okay, we made it a yes/no, and now we are to save and close the form. I will save it and I will close it. Okay. Now we're on number 15. Use the form wizard to create a form based on the teacher table. Select the teacher ID, first name, last name, and degree fields for the form, and use the columnar layout. Specify the title as teacher degree for the form name. Save and close the form. Okay, I will bring up my Access file. Okay, and we're going to base this on the teacher. So on the tables, I would just go ahead and click teacher. And when we start the form, it will automatically create default to that table. Okay, so use the form wizard. On your ribbon, click on Create. In the Forms group, click on the Form Wizard. It's based on the teacher table. So because I had it selected over here, it's automatically going to come up here. If you just select anything else over here, then that would default to this, and you'd have to drop it down. So it's easier if you know what table you're basing this on, is to go ahead and select it before you start the wizard. Now we want from here the teacher ID and the first name and the last name and the degree. Click Next because we're in the wizard. It told us to select the columnar layout, so click Next. And this is going to be called Teacher Degree. And click Finish. Okay. Save and close the form. On the Quick Access toolbar, I'm going to save it. Now I'm going to close it. I'm going to bring up the Word document and use the Form Wizard to create a form based on the contract table. Select all the fields for the form. Select the columnar layout, specify the title, contract entry form for the name, save and close it. Open my Access file. On the ribbon, click on Create. In the Forms group, click on Form Wizard. And this is based on all the fields from the contract table. So there again, teacher was selected, not contract, so I'm going to have to drop down my arrow and select contract. Click the double arrow to select all of them. We're in a wizard, so just click the next button. We're going to select columnar, click next, and we're going to call this contract entry form and select finish. Okay, so, and then what we have to do here is save and close the form. Save and then close the form. And now in 17, in the teacher degree form, use the find command to display the record for teacher ID 989123, which is Diana Reese, and then change her degree field to PhD and close the form. So I am going to open the teacher degree form, and I need to find teacher ID 989123. So on the home tab in the find group, click on the binoculars, and this is a student ID, so we were in it, so we can use the current field, so 98.9123. Click find, and we want the current field because that's where we were. It found, and her name is Diane Reese. And now close your find and replace window and change her degree to a PhD. Okay, and then we are to close the form. If it ever asks you to save it, say yes. And the last step in the contract entry form, let's take, let me fix that. In the contract entry form, use the find command to display the record for contract ID 3166, and then change the lesson length to 45 and the lesson cost to 140 and close the form. I'll bring up my access file, and in the contract entry form, so we're going to open the contract entry form. We're trying to find the contract ID, so I want the contract ID field to be my current field, and I'm in that field. So on your home tab in the find group, click on the binoculars, and we're trying to find record contract 3166, and we're in the current field. That's the field we were in, so this can stay current, and then click find next. Close your find and replace, and we want to change the lesson length here from 30 to 45. Just select it and type over it, and the lesson cost and the lesson monthly cost to 140. Okay, now we're finished, so exit access to close the database file. Submit your work via Blackboard. So I'm going to bring up access. I'm going to close totally out. If it asks me to save it, say yes, and that's the directions file, and upload your file through the submission link and that assignment in Blackboard, and yell at me if you need any help.